Now what I want to do is to skip to some things that I've seen in the past with this assignment and to hopefully steer you clear of them. I'm going to give you a list right now of arguments that I've seen people make, and they're actually in kind of ascending order of, or maybe it's descending order, I'm not sure. But the ones at the beginning are the sort of the weakest ones that I really want you to look out for. The ones at the end are a little bit more promising, but you need to do them well. So let's just go over them quickly here. Pitfalls. How much money does Singer himself give to charity? That is irrelevant. That's what you would call an ad hominem argument. Singer actually does give a huge amount of his money to charity, but again, it does not change the validity of the argument he's making, so don't talk about that. Singer is advocating for communism. This is also kind of an insult-driven argument, assuming that a communist system is bad, but again, he's not advocating for communism. People say he wants everybody to be equal. I don't think he says anything about that. So don't put words in his mouth. That money will just get wasted by corruption. So we talked about this in class. This is sort of attacking Singer's evidence, right? He says that $200 will save a child's life, and you might say, well, that's not true. If you give money to these foreign countries, the dictators just embezzle the money and it never gets to the people. But you can't make this argument because it's changing what Singer is arguing. To engage Singer's argument fairly, you have to meet him on his grounds. And he's saying, I'm assuming it's built into that $200 that some will get wasted and some will get used by overhead and whatever else. You have to assume his basic proposition that the money will save a child. Even if his number's wrong and it's $800 instead of $200, the basic argument stays the same. So don't waste your time attacking him on things that don't change the essential argument. How about this one? If everyone gives all their free money away, it will just create a bunch more poor people who need help. Again, not a fair representation of what Singer is saying, because he's not saying everybody should impoverish themselves. He's saying everybody should meet a basic standard of living, and that everything that would be a luxury, so he's not saying you can't own a cell phone. He's not saying I don't think that you can't go to college. He's not saying that you can't own a car, but he's saying that you should not buy a new car until you actually need a new car. All right, so this again falls under the category of giving Singer his fair due. Don't misrepresent what his argument actually is. Here's a popular one. If everyone gives away their money, the American consumer goods economy will collapse. Now, this isn't totally crazy, but you don't know that, right? And A, you don't know that. B, Singer would say, well, is the American consumer goods economy collapsing more valuable than saving all the lives of those people who would be saved if we didn't spend money on luxuries? Again, this changes the equation from being a single individual to a whole country, but Singer's argument still stands that the fate of the country is not as valuable as the lives, and in this case we'd be talking about, I think, millions and millions of lives that could be saved. And if you want to get more economic about it, the money is a closed system. If the money is getting spent, the economy might shift from being a consumer goods economy to being a charity-based economy. So people who had jobs making computer games would now have jobs making software to help distribute food to starving people in third world countries. The jobs will go where the money is. Folks, it may not be super high-paying jobs, but it's not as simple as saying the consumer goods economy will collapse and therefore our country will collapse. So be careful with that one. All right, so here's some others. Who is he to decide what constitutes a luxury? No one can live on $30,000 a year. A couple of things with this. Even if, let's say you bump it to $80,000, bump it to $120,000, whatever you want to bump the number to that constitutes a luxury, even if you change that line, the argument doesn't change. The argument is, again, whatever you spend over what you need, it should be given to charity. And you might say, well, that level for everybody is different. Fine, that level for everybody is different. But then every individual has a different obligation to give the extra money to charity. You still are going to have cases where people are going to have to defend that new cell phone or that fourth car or second house over giving money to charity. So be careful with that. If you save a 2-year-old's life, but he still lives in his present conditions, there's a good chance he's just going to die at a later date. Now, this one is interesting, but I'm just going to say you need to give a lot of support and backing to the claim that a 6-year-old living in a tough situation in a third world country is better off dead from his perspective, from the kid's perspective, right? Maybe there's a good chance he's going to die at a later date, but there's an 100% chance he's going to die now, right? It's either a 100% chance you die at 2 or a 50% chance you die at 6. I'm pretty sure most people would rather have the 50% chance. So again, you really need to be careful with that argument. I'm not saying it's invalid, but you got to be thorough. Finally, that money would be better spent to fix the root of the problem rather than simply feeding people and providing medicine. This is a good point. It's one people use a lot, but it doesn't change the equation. Fine. We'll spend the money on the root of the problem. Okay. We got to spend the money, though. Where's the money coming from? People giving to charity. So be careful not to change Singer's argument. Okay, folks, that's all I have. Thank you for listening. It's been a long video, but I hope you found it useful. Good luck with this. We're going to write it in class today. We're going to write it in class next class, and then what's left you will be finishing at home. And we'll be doing Gatsby besides that. Okay. Thanks for listening. See you. I guess I'm right in front of you, so see you now.